Matakipi, a petikinle machante tawogla, ke hanapit shoes upalo. Steve Tama Machi upalo, echeleti wahi ke ta sampe oyanke, and macha sichangu la kota. I'd like to welcome each and every one of you here. We are going to be setting up what we call a tipestola. In the Lakota language, tipestola is T is the dwelling, pe is because it's pointy, and stola, you're living in it. And so we're living in a pointy dwelling. And so this is how we set up our lodge. And so first of all, we're going to get the hide, the skin. We're going to bring that over here first of all. You have the top. Lay it down, unravel it so that's flat. Flat, flat. So give me the two biggest poles. Lay it right down the middle. So when you set up a teepee, one hand width at the bottom of your teepee. That's how far it comes down. No, right down the middle. One hand width, like this. Good. Next one, right next to it. One more. And so what we're doing is we're actually creating a tripod. Right there. And so when I set up a teepee, I use 13 poles to acknowledge the 13 moons. The amount of rope that I need, you've seen I just went 2 arm lengths like that. And so this is enough to tie up this tripod. And so when I tie this up, I just put my knee up and then I go around. Go over once, go over twice, and then the third time I go under the first one. Then I cinch that down. And then I come back over, do the same thing. Once, twice, and the first one, I go under once again. The last thing I want is for this tripod to slip on me. So now, Ethan, get over here. Nate, can you pick up that side? So this is my tripod and I don't want to mix this up, so we're going to push it over here. Lay it down real quick. Lay it down. And that's good. So get the next pole. Now this pole is called the lift pole. This goes directly underneath this canvas. Underneath. Use your hand, the width of your hand, sideways. Perfect. Once this is there, we tie this canvas to the lift pole. And so I always secure it here and then come back up and tie it to the pole. And so if I was to camp and go live on the prairie for a while, I would have much longer rope because my braid would actually come up more. The last thing you want is this canvas to slip once again. So now our lift pole is tied up. So now these are the smoke flaps. The smoke flaps go in with our rope. Yep. And throw your rope inside. There's a reason why. When we set this lodge up, you don't want that rope to be on the inside, because then we have to take it all back down again and redo all this over again. So it's best to understand how to set this up. Now we're going to flop this. And so this will go onto there. Ethan, grab this side. Nate, grab that side. Tracy, you get up here in the middle, top part, and flop. Keep going.
Then we're gonna roll.
Roll it. Flop it again, right on top of that pole. Nate, you want to flop right on top of this canvas. Keep it going. Not too tight. Just flop it. There. So now, bear hug this. Bear hug the bottom, pick up the pole and the canvas right in the middle. That goes that way. Lay it down. That's good. So now we're going to build our teepee frame. So over here, grab the frame once again. Come over this way. Now listen. You see your distance? Rotate. I want this to be facing the camera. Put it down. Stand on it. Put it down and stand on it. Okay. So now this rope, I'm going to pass it to Tracy. And Tracy is going to lift this tripod by herself, just with that rope. Watch. As soon as that's up, you bring this pole out. See that? This pole is what we call the east door. Stay in the middle and just hold the rope. It's cool. And so when I build my teepees frames, I want them to be nice and snug and narrow. So now this is when we lift our poles. Go ahead and grab me a pole. So when we bring our poles in, remember, we're going to use 13 poles, bottom in first. Bottom in first. Right here. So when we set this up, this first pole becomes my door. You see that? It's always done this way. And then we're going to set 2 more poles over here, 3 more poles over there, 2 more in the back. And you want to build this frame really narrow because we're going to push them out. And so watch, listen. So when you bring the poles to me, you always bring the bottom in. And so you bring the bottom in, I'll stand on them, and then we lift this pole because my poles are 35 feet. Remember that. Grab one more. You do this side first. Bottom in first.
Yeah, like that?
Yeah. Same crutch.
Same crutch.
It all feeds into that front. So now we're going to do this side. Bottom in first. See that? Next pole. It's okay. No. Like this. See that? Next one. Now, watch this. So this is my frame here. Now I'm going to do the two back. Watch. This pole is always first on this side, proper left. And you see this back pocket? That's where that goes. Got it? Now that one. Right here, lift it up, back pocket. Make sense? So now we're gonna lift that. And listen, I want the pole to be facing inward. I want the canvas to be on the outsides. You can let go of that and bring the ladder into the front door. It's okay.
So you going?
No, bottom first. You always bring the bottom in.
Oh, and so
And then
I gotcha.
You should be over there lifting my way. You're wasting your energy.
Okay.
Back pocket. Each of you grab a side. Bring it towards the front. I'll take the lacing pins, the red on the picnic table back there. And these two strings, you always tie a bow. You never tie a knot. And so, check this out. So this goes into this. Then into this one, back under, and out. See that? Overlaps, in, back under, and through. Good? Okay. You guys got pockets, just put them in your back pocket. And so a long time ago, before we had ladders, the grandpas and grandmas would tie a log across here, and that became their ladder. And so they can skimmy up. But I did go to Minnesota once, and I seen this little grandpa scale the outside of a teepee and lace up the top. It was amazing. But I seen him scaled like a spider. So not much has changed. The women are still in charge of the homes. They own the homes, they built the homes. And so the women back in the day, they tanned all the hides. And so once they scraped out a hide, they placed this hide like half a moon, and they made this pattern. And so if you look at the veins of a cottonwood leaf, and you see the veins, that's how they followed and created this pattern to make this half moon teepee. And so the buffalo is much wider on the bottom, and so that part always hung down. And so, you know, the women being the caretakers of the hides and creating the teepees, the home was actually theirs. And so anytime if there was a separation in the family, the woman actually kept the home. And so, but back in the day, we stayed connected with our families. And so the women would still remain into their own village with all their own relatives. But that was done out of security purposes. Yep. And so when you look at our teepees, you see the geometrical designs and this and that. The women, once again, were the painters, the designers of our lodges. And so once they did this, they're just telling the stories of how important the hills are to us, how important the feathers and everything else that exists on our designs here. And so long ago, we would use the chokecherry branches. And so where this is painted red, we would actually leave the bark on because it kept the stick intact. And so even for our stakes, that's how they were. And so once we get all of our lacing pins in, this is when we go back inside and we start to adjust our poles. So come in and let's do this. So the first pole I want to move is, I want to create this door, right? These are the poles for my door, and you see how that is. And so now go around, but on the bottom of this teepee, you want to make sure that you're even. Okay. See how tight it gets? But you don't want to go too high.
Okay.
Pull that down, Ethan. There. We're good? Okay. So, you notice this is from 6 inches to a foot off of the ground. And the reason why, especially in the summertime, you want that nice airflow. You see that breeze? And so this becomes our natural shade. And so in the summertime, you could actually pull these bottom lacing pins, and you've seen these archival photos of it becoming a shade. And so all we would do is go into the forest, find a forked stick, and come up underneath and lift this up. And it became our canopy, right? So now, remember, the first stakes that we put into this is in the front. So before we had hammers, we actually used the bottom part of the elk. It's really thick, and that's for our buffalo trunk, our rawhide container trunk. I got a big old elk horn that we're going to put in there to show the kids, you know, our kids and everybody else in OPS, this is how we utilized and created our own hammers out of natural items. So now we're going to do the two back. And so you notice when I tighten these, I always pull this back because it's just materials, canvas, but it's still pliable just like our hides. So I anchored in the two front. Now I'll do the two sides. The other two on the other side. And so when we set up our teepees at home, we have the little ones helping us, and they bring a stake to every loop. Pull it out tight at an angle. There you go. So once your teepee is totally staked down, that's when you go back inside, push out your poles just to make sure that this is nice and tight. And so the last thing we need to do is put our two smoke flaps in. If you notice, the smoke flaps, they have a little pocket. And this gets kind of tricky sometimes. And so what you want to do is you want to flop this over, insert that pole into that pocket, lift it up and bring it back. And so the reason why we have smoke flaps is we need to clear out the smoke inside of our lodges. And so we adjust them according to the winds, and that allows it to go out. But also in the evening time, because of the morning dew, we close this up every night. And so when I close this up, I'll actually bring this smoke flap all the way around, and then that one will wrap around. And what I'll do is I'll pull that pole out. Don't do it, but I'll pull that out. And the reason, that's why we have these ropes here. And so this rope can be tied to one of the teepee poles or a stake, but see how it wraps it around? That stops the morning dew in the morning time. Also, according to the wind and the rain, we adjust our smoke flaps on how we close it. Because if the wind's coming this way, you want to wrap it the opposite way. Open it back up. Go all the way around. So once again, the end of the smoke flaps, we tie them down, secure them. And this is how you put up a teepee. Any questions? All right, take it back down.